What is up? This is your LA in a minute, and this week marks 80 years since one of the darkest periods in Los Angeles history, a week of senseless violence by U.S. servicemen against Zoot Suit-wearing young Latinos in a dreadful chapter that came to be known as the Zoot Suit Riots. Let's get into it. The Zoot Suit Riots was a 6-day aggression by American servicemen against LA residents, mostly Mexican, and other minorities that occurred during World War II from June 3rd to June 8th, 1943, right here in Los Angeles. During the late 1930s, Los Angeles had become home to the largest concentration of Mexicans and Mexican Americans outside of Mexico. However, racism was rampant and was reaching a fever pitch. A government-mandated Mexican repatriation mass deportation was justified by the assumption that Mexican immigrants were filling jobs that should have gone to Americans. Raids were taking place throughout the city and deportations were happening daily. However, as the United States entered World War II, the government's attitude towards Mexicans shifted dramatically. The U.S. negotiated the Bracero program, which allowed millions of Mexican immigrants to enter and temporarily remain in the U.S. while working under short-term labor contracts. This in turn angered many Americans, including police, who started harassing Zoot Suiters or Pachucos. Even though there were nearly 500,000 Mexican Americans serving in the military, many LA area servicemen viewed the Zoot Suiters, many who were actually too young to be eligible, as World War II draft dodgers. Newspapers kept fanning the flames, and by the summer of 1943, tensions were at an all-time high. But where do Zoot Suits fit in? First popularized in the 1930s in the Harlem neighborhood of New York City, the flamboyant Zoot Suit had taken on racist overtones by the early 1940s. In LA, Zoot Suit-wearing Latino youths who called themselves Pachucos and Pachucas were increasingly viewed by some white residents as menacing juvenile delinquents. The Zoot Suits themselves seemed to fan the violence. At one point, the U.S. government began to ration wool, one of the main fabrics in the Zoot Suit. That said, bootleg tailors in Los Angeles continued to turn out the popular Zoot Suits, and that again inflamed the white Americans. But backing up to August 2nd, 1942, 23-year-old Jose Diaz was found unconscious and near death on a dirt road near a reservoir known locally in East LA as Sleepy Lagoon. The ensuing investigation only targeted Latinos, and soon 17 were arrested and hastily convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life despite not being allowed to sit with or talk to their attorneys. Shortly thereafter, a group of U.S. sailors told police they'd been attacked by a gang of youths wearing Zoot Suits. The next day, 200 uniformed sailors took taxis and buses to East LA where they attacked dozens of Zoot Suit-wearing Pachucos, beat them, and stripped them of their clothes. The police who were there mostly just watched. Those that were arrested were mostly Mexican-American Zoot Suiters. Finally, on June 9th, military police were dispatched to help the LAPD put down the riots. But the LA City Council enacted an emergency resolution making it illegal to wear a Zoot Suit on city streets. A week later, First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt wrote a newspaper column editorial saying that racism is an issue that we should face head on. A little bit too late, but the sentiment was there. And even though we've evolved a little bit in these last 80 years, we recognize that the Zoot Suit riots have left a permanent scar on the city of Los Angeles, its history, and its people. All right.